Now we're starting to redesign the weapon finally after so long looking at that silhouette. I kind of keeps the best candy for the end. So what I'm doing right now is I don't know, after so long looking at it, I started doubting this was a good shape. I don't know, sometimes it's just what happens is like you're just seeing this thing for too long and you start to get sick of it. So I'm just trying to see, and also it's again it's like just double checking that there's not an actual better design. This probably is, but there's not a better design, or there's something that I'd rather do than the one that I've had since the beginning. So so that's what you see me doing here. Again, using the same technique as I did with the main guy, just using silhouette first to quickly test out different things. When it comes to weapon, I tried to do something again, like with everything, like just something a little unusual that we haven't seen before. Um, and it's like I think I got infected by From Software. It's like since I've played all Dark Souls games and Bloodborne, and especially Bloodborne, which has so many original, unusual takes on different weapons. I loved it so much that it's just always what I try to do. So so you see, I'm just for the sake of checking that there's not an easy better design that I could do that I could get. I'm just testing out things, and this silhouette technique allows you to do that very quickly. And I'm probably looking at different reference here from different culture and different unusual weapon shapes to try to combine everything together. But in the end, um, I didn't really find anything that I was satisfied with. That just my lack of skills, I guess, or lack of imagination at this time, or just that my brain was set on doing this. I don't know. This shapes echoes sort of the shapes that I was using for the whole armor, so why not? And so you see here for the weapon, I just wanted to show you another way of working that I use often as well, is like start, especially because those textures, as you can see, are really complex. It would take me so much time to paint that shit, and that's not really interesting. It's much better, much more fun to just do this photo chopping and photo bashing, and then see where it goes. You get a very quick idea of if it works or not. Um, and like I was saying before, edges in terms of when you design metals and art, edge is the most difficult part to get right, especially for blades. So I tend to use I just tend to use the real thing first, and then build from there. And I really like the rawness of that axe edge blade, where it really feels like you see the black part is the raw material that's been sharpened and sharpened over and over, but they didn't try to clean out the edge, and I found that really beautiful, the contrast between those two, in terms of not only in terms of values, but in terms of like aesthetic. I really find it really interesting, and again, something unusual that I haven't seen before. So I try to apply it to my own shapes here. Um, and I'm gonna struggle quite a bit actually, because it might, like, again, it's another case of like the silhouette might have satisfied me at this for all the time that I was looking at it while doing the character, but as soon as I start fleshing it out and actually having to find a logic to it, then that's where the trouble, the shit hits the fan, and the trouble starts, because I'm gonna struggle a lot to try to justify all those shapes. I'll get there eventually, but in the end, I will not entirely be satisfied, and I will always think that I missed something there. Uh, but anyway, so again, here is like a game of like creating variation in light and darks, and trying to make it interesting and logic at the same time, using fake lightning, because you see like it seems again like there's a spotlight coming directly on that blade that create those very bright highlight, and that doesn't really make any sense. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't at the same time. But like I was saying, the point here is not to create like 100% accurate lighting situation. The point here is to create something that is visually cool looking, and also that is visually appealing, and is understandable and informative. On top of that, for this specific project that I usually work on, this is not for that project, but I kind of use the same rule, is that you might want to sell the weapon, like if it's an online game or something like that, you might want to use the weapon as a separate asset. And so if you paint it dark and everything, if you want to paint it accordingly, or not attract too much attention compared to the focal point of the cat's face and stuff like that, you might put it in the shadow or something like that. But it means that you have to do a second version where if you put if the weapon is a standalone asset, you have to do a second version where it's actually lit in a way that is beautiful in itself and readable. And so in this case, I'm doing both at the same time, sacrificing realism for visual impact and aesthetics, and also just again, like I want to showcase the weapons design. So I don't want to put it in the shadow. And so for some reason, the connection to the staff is I struggle a lot with it. I just couldn't. I don't know. I just couldn't wrap my head around about those. I had an issue with the solidity of that design, and how if you would hit with it, it wouldn't break at the weakest point, which seems to be around where I'm painting right now. And it's like a battle between like wanting to keep the cool shape, but at the same time wanting to make it believable and strong looking. So I'm just gonna mess with it again as long as I'm not satisfied with it. Um, and here you see me already kind of struggle, and I'm already fidgeting on details where the most important problems are not solved, but I'm kind of, you know, procrastinating on little things that aren't really that important at this point. It's just like it's like a fidget spinner sort of effect. He's like doing that is has the same purpose as like keeping you busy while you think, but it's detrimental because you're doing work that probably you're gonna erase soon, so you're wasting time. But you know, what can you do? You're only human. And here I like this part. I mean, I was trying to come up with like, I don't know, some sort of extruded shape out of the metal. Again, like it's just trying to do something unusual for just its own sake. I don't know. I really like the you can see that I'm generating that texture. I really like those like modern day handmade blades that you can see you find on internet or on Pinterest. You see like so many people like it occurs because they're folding the metal in itself so many times that you get these lines. But what it reminds me of is the if you if you if you're an amateur of Korean barbecue and Japanese barbecue, is the Yagyu beef has kind of the same pattern. So it's like a Yagyu beef but made out of metal. So it's like a Yagyu axe. It's like a beef axe. The texture reminds me of that. So uh, I just found it. It just brings that noise in an otherwise kind of boring plain surface. It's something that I've noticed recently is like if you look at the look of games and look of textures, even in TV shows and stuff like that, like in any kind of modern movies, you see that and that's because we've made so much progress in CG and I don't know. It's just I mean, I'm guessing it comes from there, but the surface treatments of everything is much more developed these days. Like everything, every plane surface has a sort of texture to it, or really intricate noise that is supposed to again make you not bored when you start staring at it for a long time, and you have like this frequency of details coming up if you start staring at it too long. You can see it in like the Game of Thrones, for example, costumes. You can see it in all the superhero movies. You can see all the superhero costume because they're based. I think they had to find a way to make it to update it and make it interesting. Uh, they kind of sticking to the old designs from the the origins, like the 70s and 80s, where they, or even before, where they were doing very simple shapes. But so they're trying to keep those simple shapes, but in one way is I think they're trying to make them more interesting is by working on the surface treatment. So adding all those interesting textures and stuff like that. And it's something that I got interested in a lot when I first traveled to Japan, and I started going like in men's fashion departments and or like kimono shops and stuff like that, and seeing how Japanese are really they're really good at that. They have so much variety in textile patterns and metal patterns and pottery, like every there's so much attention to details, and you realize that they're actually you never thought about it. I never thought about it before, but there's so many possibilities of enhancing your own design by using patterns and surface treatments. That so I started doing research and using that a lot, and yeah, so that's it. And again, it's just like to make you more to make this area more interesting to look at. It's a constant research of trying to make things interesting. What am I doing now? So yeah, I don't know what I was doing here. Here I'm starting to not be satisfied with the way this weapon hands. I start finding that the blade edge is kind of dull or it's too irregular that it kind of looks a bit weak. I liked it at first. I like the rawness or the unfinished look of it, but then it doesn't look as efficient as or as powerful as I don't know. There's just something that bothered me in the functionality of this kind of wobbly blade, and so I'm gonna work on it and probably fix it. It's just probably straighten up, or the thickness of it was kind of weak. I don't know. Maybe the perspective is also off. I think there was that. Like I'm going to spend some time, I think, at some point fixing the perspective. Perspective on like very thin, flat objects like that is so hard to fuck up, and I usually do, and it takes me a while to realize it that it's fucked up because you're so used to it. And again, it's back to what I was saying before. Like there's something that bothers me with this weapon. I can't put my finger on it, and it's some of the pillar of that design, which is the perspective, is sort of slightly off, and you might not realize it, but and that's why I'm constantly flipping back and forth horizontally, vertically to just I don't know, to just try to make my brain see what's wrong, I guess. I mean, I think I cut some of the parts, but I did so many. I tried so many things on this. I tried so many shapes. Yeah, I think I've left a few of them that were the most sort of interesting attempts, but I think I cut a few of them too, which were really stupid things that or like I was trying to. I was just trying to short circuit my brain to think properly. So like I did before, and you showed me is like do some start again at the base and do some big moves, big shapes, and it might trigger uh, something. And then here you see me sort of giving up and like taking the axe as is and putting it at the end because it just looks like a better solution for that problem. I mean, I think at this point I was getting tired also of this painting. This is like the I was running out of steam on this work, and I wanted to get it done. So I just gave up. and went and just took a photo, tried to work from there. See, fidgeting again, working on small design that don't really matter instead of, well, it's not instead, it's just that I can't fix the bigger problems, so I'm procrastinating on small details. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it is, maybe that. That's so painful to watch. So painful to see how much you're struggling. And it's so funny because like at this point, I mean, it's been a long time I paint this, so it feels like I'm watching somebody else's paint actually, and feel sorry for him. And in a way, I mean, like, because like I was saying, I didn't, I haven't done this for 20 years or something like that. Like, and so a lot of time when I rewatch process videos of stuff that I paint, I'm like, I would never be able to do it again. I don't know how I did this. The I don't know. It's just like something that happens on the moment, and that's there's like I will try to do this again. There's zero chance in the world that I will do exactly the same thing. It's like the chance of life happening on a planet. It's like it's the infinite possibilities of a painting is like are so staggering that there's no chance in the world that you will do twice the same exact painting. So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is never gonna happen again. I'm never gonna be able to. I'm never gonna be able to do this again. I'll do it differently. Like I even set myself to do this again by trying to do the same sort of sci-fi fantasy night, but you can see that it's not the same. It's never going to be the same. So that's why I found kind of interesting to record the process because you know that this is something that never going to happen again, and that I have no idea why I did it like this. Most of the thing that I do is like being in the zone or in the flow of things and not really thinking too much and just doing it. But when you have to rationalize it and think about, well, like I'm doing right now, trying to explain, it's extremely hard because like um, it's not something you explain. It's like it's not most of it is not something you can explain or there's no rational process to it that you can explain it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah. I did try a lot of things, and I still think, like looking back, I still think some of the shapes still could work in a they were working. I mean, but I don't know. It's just how it is. You probably have been through that. It's like when you're in the again. I think like we're back in the swamp stage here for the weapon design part, where I'm really struggling. I'm really trying to not drown here and find a way out of this problem. And you can see me fail a lot, but at least like I tried a lot of different things quickly. I'm not like fidgeting and getting stuck on something for too long. So this one could have worked too, but I don't think I end up keeping it. It's so funny because from the beginning I thought I had nailed the like I thought the weapon would be the easiest part. Like I nailed it. I nailed that shape from the beginning, and I liked it for most part for as long as now. And then now I realize that it might be I don't know what was what's the reason. It might be totally exterior to the actual shape. It's just the mood I was in or the sort of I don't know. It just didn't work anymore. It just didn't work. I don't know what I was looking at. Maybe I looked at the real weapon too much and realized that my thing sucked, or it just didn't make any sense. There's just something about the visual rhythm of it that just bothered me. It's and it's a case also like I think it sometimes I think like when I'm in this swamp, like if I only did this in 3D and it would have been much faster and everything. But I've tried to do that. It's not always the case because you still have to. I mean, the problem is like your final product is a 2D result, right? And so whatever shapes you're gonna design in 3D, first of all, you have to really match the angle, and it might actually really be difficult, very difficult to come up with something that from that angle looks good. It might be the same struggle because it's not only a matter of doing something that is functional or logic in perspective and stuff like that. That I think right is not always something that is I'd say like something that is right is not always good. What I mean is like something that is accurate is not always cool looking also, or I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but I'll find a proper word. But it's kind of how I feel. Um, cool is always priority on something that is right in terms of perspective or shape or functionality. So using 3D is not the magic wand to solve every problem, I guess. It's still a matter of visual design here, whatever the tool you use. But you can see that we're slowly getting there, and there's a sort of visual language, that a consistency in the visual language that's starting to emerge, and an internal rhythm to this shape that is starting to be a little bit coherent, I guess. I think when I look back at it, what it comes down to, and that might be strange, but at the same time, it's logic with what I was saying before, is that this big shape actually connects to the tail, the cat's tail, and the flow of it, and that might be the reason why I struggle with it a lot. Is that in the same way that the flow of it kind of didn't work with the cat's tail, and it will become successful when I finally solve that issue, I think. So here it's another trying to come at it from a different angle, thinking that it might be the actual value. The whole thing is kind of standing out too much. So it's taking a lot of attention. So I'm trying to see if that's where the issue is. See, like I was saying, so many different versions, switching back and forth, being unable to make a decision. This is this is like getting on the verge of mental collapse, mental insanity. and trying something again, another thing, another thing. But the good thing is, like, you can think about it this way: is that this is actually where you see yourself learning. Like when you struggle, when you do something and you struggle, you can find solace in the fact that in thinking that you're actually learning something every time you struggle at doing something is because your brain is doing something new or dealing with a problem that it hasn't before, and so that will result in learning and improving. Like I was saying before, becoming wiser, a little bit wiser after the fact, even if it's always painful because it's a change, it's changing something in your brain, and change is always painful, and this process, and so with experience you kind of feel less painful because you know the outcome is positive, so you don't want to kill yourself as much, um, but that's exactly what it is right now. I did leave a lot of I think it's a good example of like my design process, my absolutely messy design process. And a great example of what I was saying is like you fuck with it until it works. I kind of lost track of how many, what was the actual, the original design, and if I went, yeah, I ended up going back to it or not. I would have to stop the recording and check. I think that is the, you see, in the end, it's like I ended up simplifying and going back to a more simple and strong design, or more elegant. Same way as I did with the forearm armor piece. It's like you're going all the way to very complicated and then toning it down, or taking away things until you feel like there's nothing left to take away, and then that's the final design. See here, I think like this doing this, the curving, the end of it kind of like joins the tail's line. You see there's a line you can trace between the upper edge of the tail and the bottom edge of the axe, and it kind of connects. And I think that for me, suddenly like untie that knot, and kind of open the flow of the picture from left to right, and then so it's kind of like doing an eight in terms of like if you think about the eye path, at least mine anyway, at least that's how I visualize it. It might be completely bullshit, but and it probably is, but that's not just how I see it. Is that the flow from the visual path from the tail to the weapon's curve, following to the top of the weapon, and you see that that curve is leading you back to the cat's face, and then you continue on the shoulder pads, beak, and then back to the tail. So it's like a never-ending flow.